Yeah, it is. It's tough. Okay, let's get into what we're going to talk about. So who am I? Ewbank Geotesting, Source Energy Group. We're implementers. That's me. Here's some of the things I'm a member of. I'm on the board of the Oklahoma Association of Energy Engineers, board of IGSHPA, USGBC, member of IGSHPA. That's kind of my background. I'm really an industrial engineer, all right? And today in this classroom, we have 3 industrial engineers. Bob, David, okay? How many mechanicals we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got outnumbered first time. Okay, cool. All right. So, with that being said, give me a little slack on how I do all this stuff. Okay, if my math's a little wrong, you know my intent's right. Okay. All right. So, that's kind of what is under construction. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, okay? But what we really need to talk about is what's happening out in the market. And with ground source, we've already decided that one of the main barriers is higher first cost. All right. So we kind of need to bring these 3 things together. Marketing and technology. Everybody focuses over here. This is the one that's hard to do. That's the one that makes the big barrier. Higher first cost. So we can move the marketing, technology. Let's start moving that finance. And when we do that, we can design some programs that can help the moderate income, can help the share owner, can help the utility. And I think that's probably a pretty good deal if everybody benefits of that program design. So what would it look like if we had third-party financing for the ground heat exchanger or a rate-based tariff? And to me, folks, I don't care which it is. But I am going to tell you that it's going to be one of the 2. Get ready. There's too many irons in the fire. There's too many things going on that's going to happen. And, you know, whether it's us, whether it's OG&E, whether it's PSO, whether it's George Kaiser, there are things happening to bring that to bear and to fruition. Now, the third-party investors might have a better reason to do it than the utilities because they can make a lot of money. But if they do that, guys, you want to be careful because they're going to get a bunch of your volumetric pricing, kWh sales. So you might want to really consider doing it yourselves. When this changes, it's going to be fast. I hope it is anyway. So we're going to hit that sweet spot where they all blend together. Just like when we talk about sustainable things. What is sustainability? We all throw those terms around, but what is it? It's a pregnant moment. What is it? Might be able to pass something on to the next generation, you know, at no cost. Wouldn't that be a good? Well, that would be a ground heat exchanger, and it hits a sweet spot. Huh?
It all goes to orange.
You're right. That's on purpose. Okay. All right. So let's look at what's going on out there in residences and commercial buildings, and we're going to aim for the largest segment of the market of usage. Huh?
That was a blanket plug.
Yeah, absolutely it was. Okay. Do we want to aim at the edges or do we want to aim at the margins? And solar PV is aimed at the margins, guys. I'm going to show you why. Wind is aimed at the margins. I'll show you why. We'll kind of look this over. And this is the last thing the eye had on energy consumption in homes by end uses. And this is quadrillion BTUs. Anybody know what a quadrillion is? Can somebody explain the size of that to me? Pretty friggin' massive. Okay. Did I get that right, Randy? Okay. Okay. 65% of the energy used today, or back in 2009, it's even a little bit more, is used for space conditioning BTUs. Cool air, hot water. I think that's the largest part of the energy market in the home, isn't it? Maybe we ought to aim at that. Can we? Yeah, ground source can directly, because it can provide 52% of that directly from the earth without any conversion. I don't have to burn anything. I don't have to spin anything. I don't have to wire anything. I can just move it. That's pretty efficient when we start doing things like that. Let's look at a commercial building. 60% of the energy use in our commercial building stock in the United States is for space conditioning. And so I'm still proposing that maybe that's the biggest part of the market. Maybe that's the part of the market we ought to focus on going forward. If we'll do that, right here with ground source, we can meet 48% of that total pie. Residentially, we could get 52% of that total pie. So we ought to head that direction. Okay, everybody's heard about this stuff, but efficiency, we're talking about the usage. Demand reduction, harder to do, but okay. But if we can do some demand reduction, guys, we really have some benefit across the whole stakeholder chain. And if you're an electric utility, you know, that can be your share owners and go back all the way through the regional transmission organizations and the independent systems operator to generation cleaner air, if you're particulates out there, and maybe some new revenues. And so when you start looking at that, we really are going to have some things that we can improve, not only our economy, but our environment at the same time. And I'm kind of thinking that that might be important. And, you know, if it's not, well, who cares? I do. And I'm not even going to talk about power factor improvements right now. Okay. Dan, is there any power factor improvements coming on heat pumps?
Well, I think you can control that when you add on to them.
Yeah, right. You can. And the nice thing about they're pretty high. What are they right now? Do you know? Do we publish it?
I don't know.
No, we don't. We should. But anyway, we're probably about a 0.9 with VRFs. Maybe a little higher than that. With a true VRF. Am I right, Gary? All right. So when we start doing that, we're getting a whole lot more beer and a whole lot less foam. Now, Randy, you should understand that.
That's always the analogy I use.
Okay. All right. All right.
That's what to do to change his name. Yeah.
You too. All right. So everything starts headed the right direction. I like things that head the right direction. I like things that improve and have 100% on both sides of the equation. Thank you, David, for that. That made sense to me on why we need to refocus on a new market methodology. That's what we're talking about. All right. Anybody seen this? And this is, you know, from California, and it's called the California Duck. All right. Here's megawatts, time of day, and there's 2012. 2013. Anybody know what happened between 2012 and 2013 in California? Put a lot of solar PV on. Okay. Now, as we continue adding that solar PV, look what happens to the belly of that duck. What happens to the generating plants right here? 9 a.m. to about 3. Down, man, we're over capacity. That can be a management problem, can't it? Look right here, from about 4 all the way to 9. Look at that ramp up needed. Your RTO and your ISOs guys are going to have a hard time managing that, aren't they?
Overall, you increase the peak load because
Yeah, overall, exactly.
so how'd that help?
Didn't. That's my whole point.
So going back to the false not dark.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to get at is
Do we want more of that? I don't think so. Okay? We've got to change what the heck we're doing. All right? And you know what? Do you guys realize that today we have both IOUs here? We have the municipal power authority here, which represents the cities that sell their own electricity. And we have the co-ops here. And we have one of the major manufacturers of heat pumps that's probably more knowledgeable than anybody out there. Could we not figure out a way to maybe move this thing forward? I think we can.
Cut the heck off the duck.
That kind of.
Trim his belly. Yeah. All right. So if this is the way we're headed, I don't have a whole lot of interest. And that's why on Senate Bill 1456, I wasn't really too upset with it. Yeah, right?
One of the things that I do when I go in and tell people, because I do our renewable energy program,
Mhm.
I'm their first stop. We take no position. I mean, we want to do what the member wants. We want to give them the best information. But I always stress to them, if you're going to spend the kind of money that you're talking to put TV system, a wind system, take a look at geothermal. Again, there's more bang for the buck as far as your value of the dollar spent. And talking to people in that point, right now, wind and solar, excuse the term, is sexy. It's the market, it's what's perceived out in the public. Geothermal is an unknown. It really is. And whenever I tell people about the 30% tax credit, dollar for dollar match, that can be carried over year to year, they go, really, I've never heard about it.
Well, let's talk about it from a little bit larger perspective, though. When you build out wind or solar, and particularly at utility scale, what are you doing to the ratepayer and the moderate income person? No, you're increasing their rate majorly, yeah. All right, because they have to have that power plant to back up both wind and solar, and so I've doubled the invested capital. How do you utilities make your money? Off your capital invested, okay? Fuels pass through. All your programs pass through, okay? You make your money off invested capital, rate of return, all right? We need to change and go into that.
Capital is very limited, it's not quite what you believe.
It's not what?
It's not quite what you believe.
What do I believe?
Our
What do I
capital
believe?
is a lot tighter than you believe.
Explain it.
We don't have the money you think we have.
Well, how much money do you think I think you had?
Why are you talking fast? Utilities can pay for everything, Gary.
Well, you're paying for solar and wind right
I don't
now.
know about that.
You're investing that.
Very small amount.
I'm seeing a lot of wind farms go up.
Utility scale, what, $3
How
a
many
watt?
do we own?
Huh?
How many of them do we own?
Well, you're on a percentage of them, yeah.
On lease.
Yeah, and you're buying power from them. Okay.
And that's through mandates, right?
No,
Portfolio?
some yes, some no. Some are by choice.
But it still requires you to have a generating plant to back them up, regardless of who owns them. Am I right? Okay. That was the point of the conversation. And that there doubles the invested capital that's going out there. All right? And so when you're looking at like Southern Company and 46% of your people are making $40,000 a year or less, we need to back up here a little bit. We need to quit doing that. Okay, so, and it's okay to talk about it, I think, isn't it? Okay, if we don't talk about it, I don't think we're going to make any progress. But I sure don't want to go down that road. All right. All right. So what does a ground heat exchanger do? Something that all these other things can't do. We move BTUs. We use space BTUs in the air and in the water. We don't use MCF. We don't use KW in the air or in the water. Those are all things that have to convert to move it over there. And so if I can directly move it from the earth into that space or into that water, then that process ought to be a lot more efficient, shouldn't it? And so let's talk about that. So it directly conditions the space and the water, and it's always there. It's always ready. Sun doesn't set on it, and the wind doesn't quit blowing on it. It's always there. And, we have dog days of summer here in Oklahoma. Sometimes in August, we don't have much wind, do we? What is the uptime on the wind farms, do you know?
The output factor is around 37%.
Well, now that's on out in the Panhandle. Okay, it's a different group. They're running about 46%. So, yeah, out there with, is it Golden? Is that the generating co-op that's doing that? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, okay.
It's not out in Tri-County.
Well, Tri-County's a member of that Golden Generating, and they're once, but, yeah, it is.
I know what you're talking about. It's the generation.
Oh, yeah, the generation. Okay. All right, so we can have some critical conversations. We can learn to be friends. We can learn to talk properly to ourselves, to our ratepayers, to our owners, to the Corporation Commission, to the policymakers and regulators, and we really, truly need to be able to do that. And so we might want to go through some of this stuff. I don't want to get into that too much, but just pay attention to this first line. If I could put 12,000, take 12,000 BTUs out of the space with the ground source heat pump, I remove 12,122 BTUs from going into the power plant. Now, is that a glide slope? Yeah. So if I'm wanting to clean up the air, clean up the smokestacks and stuff, that's a pretty good way to do it. Don't worry about the rest of it. And you saw this earlier, ground source shipments. And Dan, what this is the Energy Star. So the market's larger than that. I don't know how much larger, but it's proportional. And what I want to draw here is these are spot prices, they're average prices for natural gas, and you can see a trend. Gas prices go down, ground source heat pump prices go down. And are we publishing on the website yet the poundage shipment of the HDPE pipe? Okay, is it in the member section only?
Yes.
It ought to be moved to the public section, in my opinion. Okay, and if we'll watch that and track that, what that's happening, you see I changed things when we're up here. If we'll watch that, we can actually see more probably accurately of what is happening in the ground source industry, but we're going to see the same trend. Okay. All right. So the barrier's first cost, without a doubt. In the past, we've been doing these utilities incentives, manufacturer rebates, contractor discounts, federal tax credits. Okay, we've talked a lot about utility incentives during this meeting, haven't we? Huh? You haven't? Okay. And if we've done that, why the hell didn't it change that? We've talked a lot about manufacturer rebates. Dan, you give a lot of rebates, don't you? Why would a manufacturer give a rebate?
We really don't do.
Well, you'd give a rebate to get rid of old stock. You know, and you don't have any. Yeah, yeah. And so you're not going to see that happen much. That's the whole point to that. All right. And so with those rebates that aren't out there, it hadn't affected that very much. What about contractor discounts? Do you give a lot of contractor discounts?
Try not to.
Okay. Well,
How much is
has that changed that?
How close is that downtrend in heat pumps related to building, new building?
Oh, everybody talks about that. That happened right in here. Look at what gas prices did during that same time. All right.
The
Yeah.
building also was falling down
Yeah.
for a period of time, right?
Yeah, everything was.
I wonder how that graph would show for Oklahoma.
That's certainly not all the geothermal people.
No, it's not all that, and I'm saying it's just Energy Star. Because I don't have your numbers.
Yeah, I don't think their data collection is.
Oh, that's all energy.
I bet it's proportional.
I don't think that is.
I bet it's proportional, and that's all I got I can show.
I'm gonna go to gas like with propane instead of natural gas. On cost.
But it is
associated.
Okay. So, did federal tax credits change it?
Yes.
Huh?
Almost everybody I've talked to that's done it has pulled the trigger because of that 30%. You agree, you don't know where those numbers came from. I mean, they came from Energy Star.
Yeah, but it's definitely been.
It has made a substantial difference to the people we talked to that they pulled.
That did it.
Because of the 30%.
That did it, right. Right. Okay, so I'm a so I'm a modest income person. I'm making 40, 50,000 a year, see, okay? And do you think I want to do it because of tax credits?
No, you can't afford the first cost.
Yeah, you gotta put up the.
So it's affordable, people that can afford it can do that. How much of the market is it? I don't know. But is it equal to the air source market? No.
But you know,
50% of the people don't pay the income tax.
But the air source market, as far as on regular air to air, The whole thing on it's financing, okay?
Mhm.
If you can get them financed at something that they can afford that monthly payment on, it doesn't matter if it's a geo or a regular heat pump or a conventional system with gas, it's whoever can get the financing done.
Thank
is
you,
what
you
that
just made
market
the case.
does.
That's the whole
And,
case.
and what the beauty of it
That's
is,
the whole
you
case.
throw the utility incentives and rebates and the tax credits in on it, then it's standard air conditioning product.
And
maybe-
maybe,
and
maybe
that's
if we
an
drive it
education.
that way, we can get there. So, yeah, we haven't done a whole lot. Do you guys do on-bill financing?
No longer.
Okay, do you guys do on-bill payments?
We're looking,
Nope.
Do you, Red?
we're looking at it.
Okay.
It's, we're through NISC and it's a act of Congress to get a thing added to a bill.
We had to have a banking license and we went through it and,
All right.
I mean, even 8 years after shut the program down, I still had the feds coming in
Yeah.
and going over the bank records.
It was a pain in the butt, wasn't it?
Yep.
You need to find somebody you can partner with that's in that business,
Yeah.
not doing it yourself.
Yeah, not doing it yourself. All right. Well, could you do a utility tariff if you wanted to? Probably the easiest of all. And it'll meet your clean air requirements, and it'll meet your particulates. It'll help you get down that path. That might be something we want to consider, and that's probably the most straightforward way to go for the utilities. However, there might be some competition from third party.
So
Coming in
is
here.
it Maryland has declared geothermal loops sustainable, is that the magic words?
Renewable.
Renewable. So Maryland has, New
Well,
York is on the
actually,
verge.
actually, everybody.
They have a renewable portfolio standard, just like you
Yeah.
know, they have a requirement that you have to get so much of your energy from renewable.
Right.
You as a utility, and geothermal counts.
So that's in that.
Mhm. And here in Oklahoma, we don't have a standard, we have a request. Okay.
Voluntary.
Yeah, voluntary, so there's no teeth to it. So we're not getting very far
As
now.
far as a utility tariff, as a co-op standard is, our one mission statement is, we're member owned, and we don't have subsidized anything by any member. It would be a standalone tariff.
Sure,
For geothermal.
for that class.
Right.
Yeah.
People that chose that.
Man, that's fine if you want to put it in their own class. I'm okay, I don't care if you, but you heard that Western Farmers put it in with all the ratepayers because it was benefiting everybody.
Yeah.
Well, Cat,
They
okay.
looked at doing it, they said for all the administrative hassle for $10,
Mhm.
from those people, we just spread it out over everybody.
Yeah, and it did, and it does. They were reducing costs. All right. But if we get into third-party financing here in Oklahoma, you can do property assessed clean energy. And that has to be approved county by county. Okay? What I'm trying to draw out is all these things have tons and tons and tons of hurdles. Probably the one with the least hurdle is that right there. You can disagree, and in this case, I think I will end up being a little bit more accurate. Notice I didn't say right, I said accurate. Yeah, I know.
It's a hurdle.
I agree with
Well,
it.
you got corporation commissions,
That's what I'm
and
getting at.
that's it's just complicated going through that. And then you're gonna have natural gas
David was
distribution
here.
companies complaining.
The truth is, it may be easier than we think. Particularly with what we're gonna have to do on the Clean Air Act, right? And what we're gonna have to do on carbon.
You let the rates double, you let the cost double to the
I ain't even
consumer.
talking about rates yet.
Yeah,
No,
you let the
that's-
cost double to the consumer, and they're gonna help drive it.
That's why you had the increased sales back there in that one spot, when the price of gas went up $12 to $15 a decatherm. People felt pain, people changed when they felt pain.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a great motivator.
And that's connected to the
How much
heating
number
market.
is that?
It was heating,
Yeah, heating
which
market.
benefits
Okay.
our business.
All right. We can do debt, most people can't do that, do operating leases, capital leases. If you do this tariff through a thermal service agreement with an easement of record, you can have a separate easement of record from your utility easement.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the easement that Western Farmers, they're doing is not.
It's not utility easement.
It's actually a real easy easement, there's no survey involved
No,
or anything.
that's right.
It's just a, kinda like a blanket easement, I forget the term they had for it.
Mhm.
It's
And-
legal, but
And it runs with the
loop can be
land.
wherever.
It runs with
It
the
is,
land.
yeah, and it's a true easement, but it's
Yeah.
not tied to a specific spot, like you own, strips through their land.
And so what the owner does is he swaps that easement for the thermal services agreement so he can hook up to it and pay that rate.
They do
That's
have
pretty
an easement, but
profitable.
it's a real easy to
Yeah,
find.
it's really, yeah. So, anyway, we can do that. Rural co-ops is all the money they need. I don't know what's holding them back. Okay? You don't need anything right now. All you gotta do is go.
Understanding at the management level.
Is the hurdle.
Bingo.
That works in a lot of areas, isn't it, actually?
Yeah, I'm telling you, those big boys out there saying that's what
That's right. It's the rarefied air. But seriously, that's the hurdle I see.
Me too.
They're in a box. This is out of our
So,
comfort.
so what are investment, go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was gonna say, we sat, we did, probably 30 to 40 hours of strategic planning with the Western farmers on everything they ran into when they rolled out their original tests. What went wrong, what went right, how are we gonna move this forward, how are we gonna sell them by thousands?
Mhm.
And, one of the issues is in the co-ops, for example, and this is probably true in IOUs. I mean, they don't have anybody just sitting there waiting for something to do, so they don't have the staff even to go out and market, to go call on builders.
That's why I pointed out that both OG&E and PSO are using implementers.
As a co-op, they don't have those implementers in the
Well,
co-ops.
they're available, okay?
Well, yeah.
But they just haven't stepped up to the plate to do it yet.
Well, and
That's
it's
probably what's happening.
And it's out of their comfort zone.
That's okay.
But understand the co-op mentality.
Well, it is.
They've been in a box for so long that they're concerned about stepping outside that envelope. I mean, they do what they do very well.
Okay.
And there's no reward for taking a risk.
That's
You can lose something, but there's nothing to gain.
No, that's right, yeah.
I mean, that's true in general.
Yeah, but the mice are eating on the corners of your envelope of comfort.
And
Okay.
matter of fact,
They might be rats. Okay. So I'm going to go back, and you saw this stuff, and this is really what we need to focus going forward. Deployment of decentralized, convert fuel revenues into a new rate-based tariff with no fuel revenues. Long-lived asset. I want to reiterate these things because they're important on where we're going to go, all right? Flexibility to have innovative offerings. You can now carry the flag. That's a good thing, all right? Positive public relations. What do we call that generation that's out there now? The millennials or whatever? What'd you call them? Who called them? Huh? Millennials, okay. They're different than we are, guys.
They are, they're very into renewables.
They're different than we
I
are.
asked my daughter when she was at OU if she would be willing for her parents to pay more tuition if OU would do some renewables. She said, well, hell yes.
That was so nice of her.
Why not? Sure. In fact, you're like, yeah.
Yes.
One other thing relating to renewables and the willingness to pay for it. In the state of California, many utility customers are opting to pay more per kilowatt to use renewable energy. And they're paying up to 20% more per kilowatt so that they can use renewable energy. When this program was opened several years ago, the utilities had more requests for renewable energy than they had renewable energy available.
So
We
why?
pray they keep them sequestered.
That did not take that way here.
Well, hang on. Talking about sequestering. What's China doing on renewables?
Totally different path, it's mandated. And that's the reason I started the business in Shanghai and the one in Seoul, South Korea, because the use of renewables is mandated. Every project that is built
There's a lot more Chinese than there are
is
Californians.
required to use renewables for a minimum of 20% of their total energy intensity of that building. So they have no option.
Yeah. We may see something like that over here. I don't know. All right. Unfortunately, we don't get to make all the rules, do we? No, so get ready. And your federal facilities, okay, you can get those mandates. How are you going to get those?
That's what I'm hearing.
Ground source is probably the way to get them, okay? And you're making a wise choice, and I commend you for that, okay? That's probably the easiest way to get it, all right? Even Steve's nodding his head. Yeah, that's true. Because of that 60%, we can do it directly. We get 48% of it. Bam, you're there. You don't have to do anything else. You have to have air conditioning. Or else you're not going to be productive, and I don't think they want some of their equipment without air conditioning. Okay.
They can't take utility rebates from them, we're happy to give them one rate to make up the difference.
That's how they're doing it.
Serious.
That's how they're doing it.
Really?
Yep.
Be careful with that one. Okay, all right, all right. And you can diversify that mix. Anyway, that kind of takes us where we're going through that, but really what we're after is going to take that generating capacity you got, we're going to reduce it by the customer, and we're going to grow your market. What's wrong with that? That's kind of a good approach, isn't it? Yeah. And we're seeing numbers all over from, I don't know, 0.5 to 1.1 kW per ton reduction. All right. Does anybody here think it doesn't reduce the demand? We all agree it does. Anybody here think it doesn't reduce the usage? Well, you got to think about that, because if I was burning natural gas to heat in the winter and heat my water, then it might increase usage in the winter if I'm all electric, right? It could. It probably does. All right. Oh, it is?
That's just fuel switching.
Usage is revenue.
That's not.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to show you a little deal here at McAllister, Oklahoma. It's only 57,000 square feet, faces north. All right. And what we're seeing is monthly energy consumption, kWh, with natural gas converted to kWh. So we're going to look at a DX split with gas heat, okay? We're going to look at a VRF system, and everybody thinks the VRF is the cat's meow, don't they? And they're paying through the nose for some of those things. And do you guys understand that when they're putting in VRF systems now and they size them, that they'll double the size of the outside unit so that they'll have enough capacity? Have to get the heat. Okay, well, because it's based outside air, duh. Okay, and then we're going to look at a geothermal heat pump. And so there's your usages, monthly consumption. Woo, that's using a lot.
Is this based on like some E-Plus type analysis?
Train.
Okay, so on the VRF, I can just tell you, if you look at the real data from Accurate headquarters, it's a lot worse than that.
Oh, I've seen the same data. We have two. We have ASHRA, and then we have an EPRI Southern deal at Mobile. They come out exactly alike. Okay, you're right. Okay. So, yeah, don't go buying that VRF story, guys. Okay. And if you're doing a passive house, be really careful. Really careful. Okay? Am I right? Yeah.
Well, it's not part of our program.
Yeah, be careful. And that takes some real design. I don't know. Is anybody in here? I've been passive house trained. Anybody else? Two of us? Okay. Yeah, you want, huh? Yeah, be careful. All right. Here's the peaks in KW for those three systems. Look at that. Since both those are air source, they both peak way out there because of the outside air temperature. Like ground source. And Don, I noticed you were using 85 degrees maximum. That's pretty good for where you're at, all right? That takes some work to get that done. Takes some loop links too, doesn't it? So that's some higher first cost, but you can deliver this reduction. Well, if we have a nice level usage customer, consumption, okay, and here's peaking. I think we just built the best class of customer out there. I think it helps us manage our energy inventory a lot better. I think it helps us move forward with whatever's going to happen in our energy markets. And probably if you want to own the energy market, you might ought to stay in this. Or you can let the other people with the energy internet, logistics internet, kind of eat your lunch. All right. I'm telling you, Google's not putting fiber in Whispering, whatever, Valley for nothing. Okay. There's a reason they're there. All right. That's just, don't worry about all these charts. So what is that reduction in demand worth? Is it worth anything? What does it cost to build a power plant? Gas fired, $1,850 kW, 1.8 million a megawatt, something like that, right? That's worth something. There's 200 kW, and if that's $1,850 kW, that's worth some money, isn't that? Yeah, and we say we can't get this done. If we can't get this done, we're not doing our jobs, are we? Probably. So I think it has some real value. All right. Questions, comments, what I've said so far?
I just want to reiterate one comment I made. You're talking on the marginal cost going forward. The
Mhm.
numbers I had based upon there derived from the study. GEO's competitive with your embedded costs. Forget marginal costs. Embedded.
Embedded, yeah. Okay, explain to everybody what you mean by embedded.
Embedded costs, I think most people in the room know exactly what it is. It's the fact that you have 15-year-old power plants that were built at very low cost, and you can only charge in a regulated environment a cost of capital for whatever that asset and depreciated base is. I mean, it's like, I've seen all the classes, guys. I mean, a 50-year-old pole was put in for $180 or $50, and you can only charge a rate of return on 50, even though it's costing you $1,800 to $2,500 to put a new pole in. It doesn't matter. And so a utility with 30 to 40-year assets, your rates that you're charging are based on an average plant that's 25 years old. And when you put inflation with that, that's why your rates always go up, because you're only allowed to cover good depreciation, not replacement. And with inflationary pressures over that long last, it's guaranteed the utilities prices will always go up. They have to. It's just inflation. It's not your fault. You're doing a great job. Actually, most utility prices have gone up below inflationary prices. So, I mean, it's not, no criticism, that's a compliment, actually. But all of a sudden, I think with what's going on with EPA regulations, it's about to hit a hockey stick, and it's going to be customer shock.
So what does this group think electric rates are going to do over the next 5 years?
Wouldn't surprise me if they double.
It's not going to be.
It wouldn't surprise me if they double.
It's going to
That's
jump.
bold.
They can do that,
What will
We
it
don't
be?
know. We don't have a crystal ball.
yeah, they're, for us, probably 15%.
15 is the talk around there, Sean, because of your president, not.
Well,
Okay. And
yeah,
what does
a lot
that
of
15%
depends
cover?
on what administration or how
What is
accelerated
that
they
50,
do.
that rate increase of 15%, what does it cover?
Primarily the EPA sticking it to us.
On the smokestacks? Or on the
What's
CO2?
their term, regional haze.
Regional haze.
It's EPA.
Regional
I
haze
think
is
it's like 50%
ridiculous
like
in the
the
mercury.
next
5 years.
5 years, really.
It'll be more than that.
3%.
It depends on, our costs are less than y'all's.
Sure,
I mean, so-
sure, because of the exchange. We're looking from our generation asset a lot more than 15%. And it depends on how more accelerated the EPA is going to take. And it depends on elections have consequences.
Well, Bob, this is stuff we at IGSHPA need to study. What is it, how is it going to affect the various market segments? That's the research we need to be doing. Okay? We know how fluid flows through pipes. Okay? Yeah, we know how to dig a hole. Okay? What we need to do is say, hey, market, here's what we need to talk about.